Welcome to the first ever Spring Mini Fringe Virtual Edition. I'm Nick Matarakis, the artistic director of the Elgin Fringe Festival. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope I am finding you safe and sound during this interesting time. Thank you to Side Street Studio Arts and the Elgin Cultural Arts Commission for their continual investments in the Elgin Fringe Festival. Please know we plan to move forward with this fall's annual festival in some way, shape, or form, because, as we say, whatever happens, happens. Now, we bring you these performances for free, but please know, please know that if you are able, your tax-deductible donation is welcome and greatly appreciated. And we will support the festival's year-round efforts to bring you quality programming during this difficult time. So simply click on that donate button, and it will help us immensely. Now, sit back, relax, and on with the Fringe.
Okay, first and foremost, I want everyone to remember that we are in the middle of a pandemic and the salons are closed. I promise you my hair usually looks a lot better than this. I learned recently that the average lifespan of a white American woman is 86 years old, which means that at age 44, I'm a little more than halfway there. I know that sounds morbid, but it's really not, guys. Like, I've done a lot of cool stuff in my life. I've had 2 kids, I've been to Jamaica, I made out with the medical supply salesman who fitted me for an elbow extender after I broke my radial head. I've lived. And halfway through my life means I still have a ton of time left to go. I feel like I've been alive forever, like my whole life. So it's cool. I still have time. I remember when I was in my 20s, I thought that I was a grown-up. I had graduated from college. I was making payments on a Toyota Echo. I had health insurance. I would have considered a woman my age now to be an older lady. I mean, she had teenage children, she had a mortgage payment, she had a retirement account. I would have considered a woman at my work my age, like a fun one, to be like, oh, she's pretty cool, I guess, for an older lady. And if 40-year-old guys hit on me at bars, I would be grossed out like, ooh, you creepy pedo, get away from me. But now that I'm 40, I realize 40-year-olds are not older ladies. I mean, sure, we have retirement accounts, but that's because we're responsible, not because we're old. Now the older ladies are women in their 60s because they are actually retired and they have like grandchildren. But when I'm in my 60s, I probably still won't consider myself an older lady. The older lady bar keeps moving, mostly because I'm the one holding it. When I'm 80 though, that's it. I'll be an older lady. The bar cannot go any higher, average lifespan. They say with age comes wisdom, and that is definitely true, but it's not the kind of wisdom I was expecting. Like, I don't know the meaning of life, but I do know how long to bake a potato without going on the internet to look it up. 45 minutes, 425, don't forget to poke it with a fork. I also know important things like how long can I go without washing my hair? How long is the chicken in the fridge safe to eat? The answer to both of those questions, guys, is 4 days. I'm not saying you shouldn't go any longer or you couldn't go any longer, just that you probably shouldn't. A lot of things that also change when you're 40 is like your health. So like when you're in your 20s, if you are in relatively good health and not having children, then going to the doctor is like regularly scheduled maintenance for your car. Put 5,000 miles on your engine, time to get an oil change. Put 12 months on your vagina, time to visit the gynecologist. Every once in a while, you should rotate your tires or get your teeth cleaned, but it's pretty simple stuff. 15 minutes of Jiffy Lube for an oil change, 15 minutes at the gynecologist to smear the pap, and you're good to go. And now every time I go to the doctor, it's like she wants to have a test or some kind of procedure done. So I go to the doctor and she tells me to get a blood test, and it comes back and the blood test says you have to start taking vitamins. Now this is hysterical to me because when I was in my 20s, I basically lived on cheap beer, cigarettes, coffee, and no one ever told me to take a vitamin. But now I'm in my 40s and I eat vegetables on purpose and I have a vitamin deficiency. Seems a little suspect. or she wants me to get a colonoscopy. Now, I don't know if you've had one of those, but I can tell you they're really fun. You have to fast and take laxatives for 24 hours, so you're like all emptied out like a husk of a woman. And then you go to a doctor's office where they pump you up full of air so they can take pictures of your colon. That part seems pretty bad, but that's not the worst part. After you're done, they wheel you into like this big room with all the other patients, and you're separated by these thin curtains. And the nurse says, honey, you can go home as soon as you pass gas. And I'm like, well, that's easy. I pass gas all the time. That's simple. But the only time you can't pass gas is when someone tells you that you have to. So I'm in this room, I'm listening to everybody else pass their gas and get to go home, and I'm still there. 20 minutes later. I've never been so happy to like rip a big fart in the room full of strangers in my life as I was after I got a colonoscopy. When you're in your 40s, you have to start getting mammograms too. Now, mammograms are not the end of the world. They're very necessary. I support getting them. And they're not terrible at all if you're an average heighted woman. But when you're tall like me, it's a whole different story. Now, I know that there are tall women who work in the breast care center because I've seen them with my own eyes. I'll be in the waiting room and like a tall technician will come out and I'll be so excited that she's going to be for me, but she'll call someone else. And then when someone comes out to call me, it's always without fail a woman who is like eye level with my nipples. And we'll go back to the room and she'll say, oh, geez, I don't know if I can get the machine to go high enough. And I assure her that she can, because the lady last year had the exact same concern, but we made it through. So, you know, it's great. She'll be like, maybe you could crouch down a little. And I'm like, oh, sure, I'd love to crouch in this little exam room in my one size fits all gown. That's great. But the worst is when they get a step ladder, because nothing makes me feel more like beautiful and feminine and confident and secure than a regular size adult needing a step ladder to access the top third of my body. Ladies, you have a lot of things to look forward to. Dating gets a little weird when you're 42. It's like most guys my age are not divorced yet. And those that are generally fall into one of two categories. There's the guys that hate their ex-wife, so therefore they hate all women, or the guys who have never learned to do laundry or cook dinner and need a new wife right away. I'm not interested in either of those two things, so I generally tend to date guys that are a lot older than me or guys who are a lot younger than me. I prefer the older guys because when they say things like Netflix and chill, they mean like watch something on Netflix and go to bed at a reasonable hour, and they generally drink much more expensive wine. Young guys are a little challenging because they like want you to come to a bar to hear their band and it goes on at like 11 p.m. Like they don't know what it's like. 11 p.m. I'm sound asleep. So I like the older guys, but I end up dating mostly younger guys. The guy that I'm talking to right now is very young. When I say talking to, I'm sure you guys know what I mean, right? Right, we're Snapchatting. And I know you're probably thinking, but you're in your 40s. I'm in my 40s. I don't even know what Snapchat is. And guess what? Neither do I. And it's great because it makes me seem like really like aloof, right? Like he'll send me a message and it'll take me forever to reply. And he'll probably be thinking like, is she even interested in me? Is she going to answer me? And the fact is, I'm not trying to keep him guessing. I just don't know how to get like the dog face off my face before I reply. And I have to keep everything PG and above board because I never know who I'm actually sending my messages to. Like, am I replying to this young man? Am I sending it to my daughter or her friends? Am I putting it on my public story for the whole world to see? I really have no idea. So Snapchat is really keeping me like, you know, kind of like the cool dating girl. I like it. So social media sometimes is a win. Speaking of relationships and things like that, I don't really have a good breakup story, but I do have a great story for you. A few years ago, I met a man on social media, and let me back up. I was with my ex-husband for about 15 years, and during those times, a lot of things changed. My ex-husband and I, when we broke up, there wasn't like a big fight or any drama or anything like that. It was kind of like a pleasant business transaction. It was like, sorry, we have to part ways. It was mostly a pleasure doing business with you. Best of luck to you in the future, you know. And we were together for 15 years. And during those years, so many things changed in the dating world. Like, for example, when I first met my husband, no one ever like met someone online. But then after the time we were together and then divorced, and I was like back on the market, as they say. Well, like not me, I don't say that, but other people say that. Then online dating is pretty much the only way to meet another adult male. So you're kind of stuck with it. There's also like a whole new kind of lingo and language that has arisen with online dating. Like there's ghosting. We all know what ghosting is. It's like when you talk to someone for a little while and then they just disappear. Sometimes they just pop back up like nothing happened. That's called zombieing. If it happens around the holidays, it's called marling, like the ghost of exes past who don't want to spend Christmas alone. There's stashing, where like you might be dating someone, but they never post pictures of you online or introduce you to your friends because they don't take the relationship very seriously. There's catfishing. We all know that. There's a whole TV show about that. Catfishing is when you pretend to be someone else entirely than who you are. But then there's also kitten fishing, which is way more common. It's like when you post pictures of yourself on dating sites where you're like younger, thinner, have more hair, a little more attractive. There's tons. There's like benching, breadcrumbing, the list goes on. And my story is about orbiting. And orbiting is when someone breaks up with you, but then they kind of like stay on the peripherals of your life, like watching your Instagram stories or liking your Facebook posts without ever really interacting with you, directly. My story is about a time that I was being forced to orbit someone, kind of like without me even knowing. So maybe a better word would be tethered. Not sure. So I met a guy on Match.com, and like most men that I meet online, there was nothing particularly interesting about him. He was employed enough, he was nice enough, and after texting for a few days, we decided to meet on the perfect first date, which is one drink at a bar on a weeknight. So it's hard to get a feel for someone over text, and I really was at this phase in my life where I was like, just give everyone a shot because you never know. This guy was cool, I guess. He looked like a younger, balder, less attractive version of Tom Skilling. So we meet for the drink and everything was fine. The conversation was adequate. There was no sparks, but there was no red flags either. And at the end of the date, there was definitely no romance. I went on my way and he went on his, and I thought that was it. But the next day he did text me and asked me if I wanted to meet him for dinner that weekend. Now, again, I was going through a phase where I would just give anyone a shot because you never knew. So I agreed. And we met at a Mexican restaurant. And as soon as our margaritas arrived, I knew I was not remotely interested in this guy, right? We didn't have anything in common. We didn't have much to talk about. Conversation was difficult. And somehow it came up that he did not have an Instagram account. So I thought, hey, this will kill 20 minutes. I'll help him start an Instagram account. So he signs up, gets a username. He follows me. I follow him. He posts a picture of our margarita. And then that's it. The date is over. He texted me and called me a few times, and I ignored them. And I know what you're thinking, like, why did you ghost him? You're so rude. But I didn't really think that I needed an official, like, I don't want to see you anymore after 2 little dates. And I thought that was it, but I didn't know that I had been tethered. So like a year passes and I'm scrolling on Instagram and I see a picture of a guy holding some roses and the caption says first date jitters. The guy looks vaguely familiar, but I don't really know who it is, so I just keep scrolling. Some time passes, a few months, and I see a picture of a guy and a girl in a romantic carriage ride downtown, and this time I recognize him. It's Tom Skilling. I think. Keep scrolling. This goes on like this for a while. I see some pictures of Tom Skilling and his lady friend at like a crappy all-inclusive in Cancun, or like Tom Skilling taking his lady to meet his parents. Lots of pictures like that. And then I see a picture of a shiny engagement ring, and the caption says, "She says yes." And I'm like, I wonder if this is the same girl from the carriage ride. So I click on his profile, and sure enough, it is. And I think, good for him. So over the next few months, I see pictures of, bridal showers and all these other things. And then I see Tom Skilling in his rented tux with Mrs. Tom Skilling in a white dress by his side. And the caption says, "Happiest day of my life." Then the next few weeks, I see pictures of, typically romantic honeymoon pictures and things like that. And then that's it, radio silence. I don't see Tom Skilling again for a year. And to be honest, I never really went and looked at his profile because even to this day, I don't really remember his name. I know it was something funny, like Tom Thompson or John Johnson, something that a parent might think is cute when they name their child, but it's really just kind of dumb and mean. So I never really looked and followed up on him. Maybe about a year goes by and I'm scrolling on Instagram. I know you can probably see a trend here. And I come across a picture of Tom Skilling and Mrs. Tom Skilling on a hospital bed. He's clutching a little red blob in his hand, big smiles on everyone's face. And the caption says, "Welcome to the world, Tom Skilling Jr. Mom and baby are doing great." And then I thought, didn't this guy just get married? I couldn't remember how much time had passed between the honeymoon pictures and the baby, so I went into his profile and I looked. I remembered every picture: the margarita, the first date jitters, the carriage ride, the all-inclusive, the trips to the parents, the wedding, the baby, everything. I had seen all these pictures before. And that's when I looked at the top of his profile and I saw something shocking. Now, for those of you who don't know, like maybe you live under a rock or you just moved here from Mars, at the top of someone's Instagram profile, it says how many people you follow and how many people are following you. And Tom Skilling had a very low number, the lowest number that I'd ever seen. Tom Skilling was following one person, and one person was following him. And that person was me. All those pictures that he had posted, all the filters he had chose and the captions he had crafted, they were not there to share with his friends and family to celebrate his life milestones. They were there for me, to show me what I had been missing. I mean, it was ridiculous. I might have ghosted him in the beginning, but Tom Skilling, he played the long game. He emerged from the battle victorious, the clear winner. So yeah, dating's rough. Another thing that's rough is dressing, like what to wear when you're 40, because I can't wear the same stuff that my teenage daughters wear, even though I kind of want to. I did read this article one time that had a formula for how to dress at every age in your life. And 40-year-old women are supposed to wear slim pants, a loose, longer shirt with a fitted jacket over top. And let me tell you, I really ran with that. The article also said that blonde women in their 40s should not wear black clothing anymore because it makes them look older. And all this time I thought my face is what makes me look older, but really I'm willing to try anything. Buying clothes when you're plus size is pretty awful. It's not really a fun thing, but the worst thing to buy in general for all women is bathing suits. And it's especially bad if you're plus size. Most plus size bathing suits are kind of like burqas. They're long sleeve, high collar, past your knee. Certainly nothing you would ever wear somewhere where you planned on being warm or getting into water. Or there's this weird thing where clothing designers think that the larger a woman's dress size, the more gigantic her breasts are. And I can tell you guys that this is a fallacy. This is living proof. So when I buy a plus size bathing suit, the boob cups are so big that they fit on my head. And I'm not talking like a yarmulke, I'm talking it goes all the way down past my ears. And a lot of people are like, well, what's the big deal? Well, what's the big deal? Can you imagine if this is how it was for men? Let's say, for example, you're a trim, kind of slim man, and maybe you wear a size medium bathing suit. Your bathing suit has a penis sheath attached to the front. It's this long and this wide. You're fine. Fill it up, no problem. But say you're a bigger guy. Maybe you wear a 2X. You don't work out as much as you should. Maybe you drink a little bit too much beer. When your bathing suit comes, the penis sheath is this long and this wide. You don't have enough to fill it up? That's okay. You'll just have this piece of fabric flopping around in front of your bathing suit. You'll love it. It's great. Buying jeans is pretty hard too for a woman. If you're a man, it's easy. This is what happens. You go into a store and they're like, you are this many inches around and you are this many inches long. So here are your jeans. We'll see you in a year. But when you're a woman, it's the exact opposite. You go into a store and there's 45 million different styles of jeans. There's skinny, boot cut, barely boot cut, boyfriend, girlfriend, bell bottom, wide leg. I mean, the list goes on and on. But let's say for the sake of arguments that there's 10 styles in the store. And sizes for women are super wonky. So you're going to have to try on your size, one size bigger and one size smaller. So do the math with me. 10 styles, 3 sizes, that's 30 pairs of jeans. So you have your 30 pairs of jeans. You go into the fitting room, and there's like a general rule that women's fitting rooms are always a minimum of 20 degrees warmer than the rest of the store. And the fitting rooms are always like this big. Like maybe 8 inches wider than your actual body. And then there's always a cube on the ground for some reason, which takes up floor space. And no one really knows why it's there. Like, are you supposed to sit on it? Are you supposed to like put your foot up on it? Is it to hold your purse? Who knows? But there's always like a pleather cube at the bottom of your fitting room. Some fitting rooms are really terrible. They don't even put a mirror in them. You have to put on your ill-fitting clothes and go out into public to look in a mirror in front of all these other people. It's like the meanest thing in the world. So you try on 30 pairs of jeans, and of those 30 pairs of jeans, one pair will fit. So you're like, well, I never want to do this again. So I'm going to go out into the store and I'm going to buy 3 pairs of jeans in the same size, in the same style, from the same store, so I don't have to buy jeans for a long time. And you pay for them and you bring them home and you try them on, and still only one fits. So you get to start returning and doing it all over again. One thing that I do really love is Spanx. They've been a part of my life since they were invented. They're really great. And I have a male friend. He's not my boyfriend. Stop. Anyway, he had this thing coming up in his life, and he was really kind of not feeling great about his body and like the way he looked, and he was aging. So I said, well, why don't you order some Spanx? Spanx for men is a thing. You guys are so lucky. It's not just for us. And he didn't believe me at first that they were real, but then, he came around to the idea, and he certainly wasn't going to go to Nordstrom to order them because, he had pride. So he ordered them on Amazon, and they came the next day, and he FaceTimed me frantically when I was at work, and he was convinced that they had sent him the wrong Spanx. He's like, this is so small. There's no way this is an adult large. Maybe this is a child's large. And I was like, Spanx for children? Not yet. So anyway, the shirt was so small. I assured him that it was right, and then upon further investigation, he looks through the box and he sees that there is a laminated card with like an infographic that tells you how to put on your Spanx. So men get directions on how to put on what is essentially a very tight t-shirt. When women get Spanx, it's like this. Here's your Spanx. It's 1/4 the size of your body. It does not stretch. It has no zippers, fasteners, or hooks of any kind. Figure out how to get it on your body so you look less fat. And then you do. And when you're done, you're like sweaty, you have like a pulled tendon, you ripped a muscle, you have a broken nail, but you look really good. Like really good. I really like Spanx. They're just, they're comfortable to me. Spanx are like a long, too tight hug from a stranger that you don't really trust. And it's exciting because like you can't breathe. So you're breathless. So the whole night is like, you never know what's going to happen. Like, am I going to pass out? Am I going to die? Can I breathe too deep and my outfit will actually like explode? Can I go to the bathroom? Do my friends need to come over tonight and cut these off me with a bandage cutter? I mean, you never know. It just makes everything a little more exciting. It's really fun. So not only am I getting older, but also my parents are getting older, which is like a whole new sort of dynamic to our relationship. My parents are, only 67 and they're in good health. So they don't really need care as much as they need help. And the help is mostly like revolving around technology. So there's a lot of like frantic phone calls about like I have to help them fix stuff, where my mom will like FaceTime me on her iPad and then show me her laptop and try to like get me to fix it. So there's a lot of like fixing glitches on iPhones and iPads, or like fixing broken remote controls by like putting batteries in them or like hitting the source button, those kind of things. But like a solid 60% of the condo tech crises for my family revolve around Alexa. I know Alexa is supposed to be like a virtual assistant who helps you, but Alexa is just like the bane of my existence. My mom loves her Alexa. Like, she loves it. She lives in an 800 square foot condo that's like all windows and glass sliding doors on one side, but she really needs the Alexa to tell her things like, what's the weather outside? And my parents like Alexa so much that they bought a second Alexa. for their 800 square foot condo. And so the two Alexas would get confused. So I went online and figured out that you need to give the second Alexa a new name so they wouldn't both answer. So the Alexa in the kitchen is called Alexa, and the Alexa back in my parents' bedroom is called Computer because my dad named it. So I really think like Alexa belongs to my mom and Computer belongs to my dad. So there's a lot of like, hey Alexa, what time is Barb Donovan's granddaughter's bridal shower tomorrow? In the front of the house. And hey Alexa, what time is the Cubs game? In the back of the house. And then after Alexa answers, she immediately goes offline and breaks, and my parents call me like, frantically, like, help, what can I do? But my mom gives me like a lot of good advice too. She's not just, she doesn't just need my help. She also gives me a lot of help. Like one piece of advice she's always given me is to make sure I'm always wearing clean undies because like you never know, just in case. And she's not talking about like the sexy just in case. She's talking about like just in case you get hit by a bus and you have to go to the emergency room and they cut your clothes off, you want your underwear to be clean. I'm pretty sure that if I'm in the emergency room after being hit by a bus and my clothing is getting cut off, the last thing anyone is going to think of is like, are her underwear clean? And I can also promise you that they probably won't be clean because I will have just gotten hit by a bus, and I'm pretty sure that would make me poop my pants. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. I'm not my parents' only child, but I am my parents' only daughter, which basically means I'm my parents' only child. It's really weird how parents decide like who has the most free time available to them. So I have friends who have no children, so their parents automatically assume that they have the most time to come over and help them with things. My brothers all have kids, and I have kids as well. So my parents decided that I probably have the most free time because I'm divorced. So like since I don't have a husband, I have a lot of free time to help my parents do things like pick out rugs, hang curtains and pictures, and buy their marijuana. Now I know what you're thinking, that's crazy. You have to buy their marijuana? But I mean, it's not that crazy. My parents pay for it. All I have to do is call my ex-boyfriend from high school, who's the only drug dealer that I know, and go pick it up from the parking lot of his work. It's not a big deal. One time I thought it'd be cool to bring my mom with me so she could like officially meet him again and maybe cut me out as the middleman. And if you think buying drugs for your parents from your ex-boyfriend is awkward, then I do not recommend sitting in the parking lot of Home Depot in your Toyota Camry with your mother and your ex-boyfriend, the drug dealer. Just stay the middleman. I got really excited when marijuana was made legal because I'm like, oh, now my parents can just go buy their own. And my parents like, well, we're not going to one of those places. We still need you to get it. So that's something. That's cool. My dad started reading these articles a lot lately, and he read this article about microdosing, and he was like really excited. He called me and he said, hey, Madeline, what do you think about microdosing? What do you know about microdosing? And I had to put my foot down because that's it. Not that like I have some like weird kind of like theory about what kind of drugs is acceptable for my parents to do and what kind of drugs is not acceptable for my parents to do, but because I literally have no idea where I would even think about buying shrooms. I mean, I'm 44, guys. Thank you.